Good evening, I'm Max Octane. You may recognize me from Insight TV. You might find it shocking, but I wasn't always the smooth, good-looking TV anchorperson man that you see before you today. No, my friends, this 5'2" hunk of camera candy took years to perfect. Today, I stand, or sit mostly, squarely at the intersection of the finest hardware. An amazing set, impeccable personal appearance, and Oscar-worthy performance abilities. But don't you worry, my little chickadees. I'm about to share all my trade secrets with you. It's my personal guide to becoming an instant mega movie star. Hear me now and believe me later, my friends. If you adhere to all these trade secrets, you'll be the star of every video call you ever make, ever. Oh, these cats are so... What? Oh, chances are you watch TV. It could be on your phone, it could be on your iPad, or it could be on the big screen. And as a TV watcher, you know the difference between good TV and bad TV. Am I right? Of course I am. I'm Max Octane. Anywho, what makes good TV and what makes bad TV? What makes a Spielberg movie look fantastic and a local PBS donation cut in look like, well, a plate of last night's soggy French fries? That's the point I'm trying to make here. That's terrible. And when something's terrible on TV, people tune it out. They tune you out. They miss your message. And we don't want that. We want them to get your message. That's what I'm really trying to say here. Forget all that tune it out stuff. What we want to do is have people get your message. Because when they get your message, there's a higher probability that your audience will do what you want them to do. That's what I'm really driving at here. Forget all that other stuff that I said. What we're trying to do is to get people to do what we want them to do over a video call. Now, how do we do that? Well, here's a few tips. Speaking of hardware, these Insight laptops are phenomenal. But what about your Wi-Fi? If you're working at HQ, no problemo. But if you're at home working remotely somewhere else, it may be a different story. If Wi-Fi speed is sketchy, if you can, make sure everyone else is off the Wi-Fi when you make your call. Also, turn off all unnecessary apps. Many of these suck up the bandwidth. The camera on the laptop is fine, but it does put everything in focus. Now in the movies, they only focus on the things they want you to see. This is more like the human eye. You can try this for yourself. Look at something close up and then notice everything in the background or on the sides is out of focus. Now this is what we're used to seeing in the movies, so anything else looks off, and that, my friends, is a distraction. So how do we overcome this? Well, there are a couple of ways. One, you can use a virtual background, but make sure the background is a little blurry if you can. That will make your image pop out and your audience will focus on you. And again, you are the star of the show. Now, the other thing you can do is to get an external camera, like this one. Some of these are manual focus, like movie cameras, so you can be in focus while your background is blurry. There is also a defocus option in Teams and Zoom where you can take the background out of focus. This is a lot better than looking at things sharp and clear. That way, people's eyes don't wander over to some detail in the background. What we're really trying to do is to simulate a 3D reality in a 2D medium. So these are a few tricks that you can do to make it look more like real life and thereby lowering the distractions. Now, another great thing about an external camera is that you can set it up at eye level. You don't want your audience looking up your nose like this. Though many people keep their laptops at a lower level, and things like ceiling fans or lights pop in the background. Very, very distracting. You can also take your camera and stick it on a tripod if you're in a conference room with multiple people. That way, on the other end, your audience can see everyone who's in the room. Laptops are made of gold, plastic, and plastic conducts sound. So if your camera and your microphone are on your laptop, when you're typing away, taking all those notes, it gets picked up and people hear it. That's a distraction. And if you want to have rock star audio, get one of these. These little Bluetooth microphones are fantastic in a number of ways. First of all, they get the microphone right next to your mouth. That makes your voice the loudest thing it's picking up. Everything else will be diminished. And this has fantastic noise cancellation. So if you're in a situation that has loud, repetitive noise, like an air conditioner or a microwave oven that's going, or a lawnmower outside, or a herd of elephants, your audience simply won't hear it. They'll just hear your voice loud and clear, and they'll get your message and be more likely to do what you want them to do. Also, you have a speaker right next to your ear, so it's very difficult for anything else to drown out what they're saying. Very critical feature. Now, if you're in a conference situation where multiple people are speaking, you may want to use one of these Jabra microphones. They serve as a speaker and a microphone and can pick up fairly well. Of course, the further they are away from the person who is speaking, the more background noise, such as echoes, they will pick up. So you have to use them wisely. Now, let's talk about another very important piece of hardware. That is your lighting. You know, when the movie camera was first invented back in the late 1800s, electricity barely existed, let alone light bulbs. So directors had to shoot movies outside and use the sun as natural lighting. Now, when they shot during the day, they noticed that in the middle of the day, if the sun was high in the sky, it put weird shadows on people's faces, like this. So they tended to shoot later in the evening, about after 4 o'clock, or earlier in the morning, up until about 10 o'clock. So the sun was about 10 o'clock high. Now, when electricity was created and widespread, and they began to shoot these movies inside on sound stages, they set the lights to simulate that up at about 10 o'clock high. And that, my friends, is what we're used to seeing. So when lighting appears in other ways, it looks a little bit off, and that becomes distracting. I'll demonstrate. So if you were watching a movie, that maybe it was a horror movie, it might look like this. So that evokes a certain amount of emotion. So what we'd like to do is to have the lights about 10 o'clock high. Now, if you don't have a light, you can achieve this by moving your call next to a window, an open window. A window makes a great light source. It's nice and soft. And I'm not talking about the sunlight screaming in. I'm talking about indirect lighting that is flattering and fills your face and makes you look great like me. Important to note that the window needs to be behind the camera, not behind you. Because if you put the window behind you, you look like this. A person who has been placed in the Federal Witness Protection Program. Very distracting. Now, if you don't have a window source, you can also use a USB light. They're not terribly expensive like this one here, and they plug into a regular USB outlet. Many of these lights come with their own stand, and if they don't, you can get one. It's a universal screw that fits into the bottom of the light. Now, no ring lights. Many people ask me about ring lights, and yes, they provide nice lighting. But if you wear glasses, you're going to get bright white circles around your eyeball. And no one wants to take a look at that because it's distracting. And even if you don't wear glasses, you will get an odd white circle around your pupil, which frankly makes you look like a robot. I threw a little virtual gasoline on my virtual set to prove a virtual point. Fire is hot. No. Your set is important. That's what I'm really driving at here. Your set is important. Don't forget all about the fire stuff. Anyway, let's talk about sets. Your set can set the mood from terrifying to pure bliss and everything in between. But what is the set? Well, it's everything inside this little box here, including you. So listen up, pork chop. I'm gonna tell you how to make it all look great. First of all, it's a business call, right? So you want it to look very businesslike and professional. The easiest way to do that is to use a pre-made Insight virtual background. Ask IT where they are, and they'll show you how to download them onto your computer and load them into Teams or Zoom if you don't know how. And then bada bing, bada boom, you're in an Insight branded business environment. If you choose to use a real office or a remote workspace, just make sure it's cleaned up and professional. And if you're on a call at Insight HQ, make a reservation and use a call booth if you can.
Hey Octane, dial it down. I can't hear myself think.
It'll sure keep your fellow insiders happy. Sorry guys. Now the last thing you want behind you is something like this. Or this. Or even this. If you go with something like this, your background can pull double duty by being an Insight branded. Your client may be on a call with you and say, "Hey, what's that big hunk of paper hanging over your shoulder?" And you'll say, "Well, I'm glad you asked. That is a mega map, my friend." And then an interesting conversation ensues. So just a couple of more words about framing and then we'll move along. What you want to try to accomplish is a 3-button shot. That's from here to here. Standard fare for a TV anchor person man like me. You don't want to be too close. And you don't want to be too far away. You want to be just right. Because why? Everything else is a distraction. Heads up, possums. It's time for a pop quiz. Multiple choice. Look 1, look 2, look 3, and look 4. Which of these is the best choice for an insider? Time's up. Obviously, it's this guy. Why? It's what people expect in a business call. And when they see what they expect to see, they don't go down the distraction rabbit hole. They focus on you and your message. Now, Insight has an image to maintain. I call it business sharp, as in look professional and look sharp. Solid colors work well. Not too bright, not too dark, mid-range, a shade or two darker than your face. This way, the camera makes your face the brightest thing on the screen. Dressing well is also a sign of respect towards your audience. They will appreciate the compliment, and they will appreciate you, the mega movie star. People often ask me, "Max, can I use my hands when I talk?" Well, I prefer to use other people's hands, but if you use your own hands, that's fine. Just make sure they're in the screen where people can see them. Your hands are a natural feature of a conversation. You can use them to illustrate a point, and it's been proven they help you think. You just don't want your hands to really take over and become the main show on the screen. Just like everything else, don't overdo it. Believe it or not, anchor person people do that before each newscast. It limbers up the face and gets you ready to talk. You can do it too, in the privacy of your call booth, of course. As with any great actor or TV anchor person man, each time in front of the camera is a performance. So, here are Max's 4 simple secret performance secrets. Rehearse, prep your audience, speak clearly and simply, and be energetic. Rehearsing your content is critical. Now, I suggest doing it out loud. You can do this in your car or in a call booth. And if you can rehearse with a partner, that's even better, because then you'll get some feedback. When you rehearse out loud, you actually learn the content because you're hearing it while you're seeing it, and that makes it stick. And when you know your content backwards and forwards, you're going to be more confident in your video call. When we talk about prepping on your audience, that means you want to know who's on the call and what their role is, because you'll want to tailor your conversation to that person in different ways. For instance, if it's a CEO you're speaking to, you'll just want to give them the high-level information. Now, if it's a supervisor or a manager, they're going to be interested in the nuts and bolts. Speak clearly and simply, and that just means use short sentences and small words. That way your audience doesn't have to decipher what they're saying. They can just get what you're saying instantly and move along with you. And finally, be energetic. Put some positivity into it. Smile occasionally. Remember, in a video call, you're in a small box, so you want to stand out. How do you do that? You need to go over the top just a little bit. Not Jim Carrey over the top, but just enough. And if you're the person that does that, you're going to be remembered, and so is your message. Well, there you have it, sports fans. Now you have all the tools you need to be a mega movie star on your video calls. And take it from me, Max Octane, the belts are still up for grabs. Even after in-person meetings took a virtual turn some time ago, most people still don't get it right. But you can, my furry friend, you can. And when you do, they'll not only remember your message, they'll remember you as an amazing mega movie star. And when Hollywood calls, I gotta take this. Octane here. What? Cat food, you say? Okay, I'll do it. Well, friends, I gotta go do a big movie. I'll see you next time. Until then, I'm Max Octane. See you on TV.